Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily News. I'm Nicholas Richardson. The shameful attack on Polish soldiers committed by young people on the Polish-Belarusian border outrages the public. Questions are being raised as to whether the name-calling and extreme aggression against uniformed officers is a coincidence, and whether the Polish state knows how to deal with similar situations in the future. Scandalous statements by pseudo-celebrities about Polish border guards are taking their toll and are also providing fuel for the introduction of a new element of hybrid warfare. The passivity of the Polish services in this matter is also puzzling.
They were drunk and very aggressive towards Polish soldiers, spitting on their uniform, pouring alcohol on the servicemen, chanting vulgar slogans. And all this on the Polish-Belarusian border. Such an outrageous attitude on the part of young people who held a vulgar party in the village of Wyczółki in Podlasie on Saturday night is shocking. Unfortunately, I witnessed the situation. It was a wedding of two female activists. People from different countries came together. Around midnight, they came out on the road saying they had a surprise. There was a fire dance, etc. From the side of the border from Wyczółki, the army drove after a shift. The young people stopped, switched off the car, and waited, but took too long blocking the road while dancing with their middle fingers and shouting their slogans. The military asked them to let them pass, but instead of being met with understanding, they were met with aggression and had to intervene. Piotr Czaban, leader of the Podlasie activists who support illegal immigrants at the border, downplays the pathological event. I thought it was about an attack from Belarus, and it was the military that hit a Podlasie wedding. There was a demonstration on the road. According to witnesses, the impatient military car pushed against the crowd, and then the soldiers themselves intervened instead of calling the police. According to witnesses, there was aggression from both sides. Young people were encouraged in the past by the disgraceful and vulgar slogans of pseudo-celebrities from the 8-star camp. What's going on there? Is that a border guard? Guard? These are machines without a heart, without a brain, without anything. Machines blindly following orders. How can this be? My heart hurts, my whole chest hurts. I am shaking and roaring. Murderers. And politicians from the same camp.
To jest przerażające.
It is appalling that something like this has happened.
Tak nie postępują żołnierze.
This is not how soldiers act. Simply trash. They have become a tool for ridiculing the seriousness of the Polish uniform, despite the hyped declarations of the leaders of the new government.
Lewica.
The left is in a government that strengthens the Polish border. The left is in a government that cares about security. The damage is done, and today, we have the consequences. It still comes from the media chafe they have in their heads about the years of accusations against Polish border guards. They are left with this kind of hatred for the uniform. One has to take into account that such behavior may be an element of the hybrid war that has been going on the Polish-Belarusian border since 2021. That is why the content of the letter from the Minister of Defense to the Minister of Justice, in which Władysław Kosiniak-Kamysz kindly requests that the case be treated as a priority, is puzzling. I kindly ask the minister to extend special supervision to the prosecutor's office's investigation of the case in question. Priority, in this case, must be a matter of course for Polish authorities and services.
Wiemy doskonale.
We are well aware of the fact that there are various groups, activist groups, who are helping. There are individuals who are against such behavior. There are a lot of media publications, even people from the acting world. Opposition politicians are also noticing. As politicians, as public figures, we must condemn this type of behavior. As soon as we saw the foundation, the Anti-Polonism Monitoring Center, this film, we took action. We got the first details of the people who were there. In any case, we have already sent a message to the Public Prosecutor's Office, where we will send further information that comes to us. Among other things, there are records of the people who were there. In this situation, the soldiers behaved in an exemplary manner and did not allow themselves to be provoked by the aggressors. The police have begun questioning the uniformed men whose integrity was violated. When and how will the perpetrators be punished? We are still waiting for the official announcement. Michał Solarz, TV Republika.
The first day of the Republican Party convention is behind us. There was great excitement, and there was Donald Trump, who made his first public appearance since the assassination attempt. The delegates officially chose him as the presidential candidate, and he named J.D. Vance as his vice presidential running mate. The young Republican is taking a keen interest in Poland. In recent months, he has repeatedly written about the violations of democracy and the rule of law by the government of Donald Tusk and called on the United States authorities to react, indicating that the world cannot be indifferent to the spread of lawlessness by politicians with authoritarian inclinations. J.D. Vance, the Republican vice presidential candidate. He is the one who Donald Trump has personally named as his closest aide after, very possibly, returning to the White House.
Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid.
The under 40-year-old Vance, a senator from Ohio, takes a keen interest in the situation in Poland, and he is very concerned about the actions of Donald Tusk and his government. Vance has written a letter to the Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He expresses serious doubts about Tusk's government's takeover of public media. The layoffs of employees of Polish television, Polish radio and the Polish press agency, which began immediately after Prime Minister Donald Tusk and his political allies took power, raises questions about the new government's commitment to media freedom and the rule of law. J.D. Vance, senator from Ohio.
J.D. Vance odnosi to do sytuacji Ameryki.
J.D. Vance relates this to the U.S. situation and asks why the U.S. administration commented heavily on events in the media and so on while Law and Justice, which is a conservative but very America-friendly government, was in power, but has nothing to comment on, nothing to say to actual obvious violations of the law. The Republican senator and vice presidential candidate writes directly, "What we are seeing in Poland is a literal assault on democracy." And he accuses Joe Biden of hypocrisy for turning his head when the rule of law and democracy are violated in Poland.
Any comment on the political change in Poland? I think that's very good.
J.D. Vance disagrees with this assessment and on a social networking site explains to American internet users how democracy is being brutally destroyed after the change of power in Poland. The Liberals who recently took power in Poland are now arresting political opponents and shutting down public debate. In an alleged effort to protect democracy, they are using taxpayer money to attack the previous government, which was a great ally of ours. If he becomes vice president and there is a Polish theme somewhere, a Polish issue, cooperation with the Polish government, then he can allude to that. Tusk's attacks on Republicans who did not support a financial aid package for Ukraine were met with a firm response from Vance. Poland's new leader arrests political opponents and owes his country's security to my generosity. He might consider showing a little gratitude, or at least toning down his own authoritarian inclinations. The senator is pressing the current US authorities not to be indifferent to law-breaking in Poland. I urge you to encourage the new government to rethink actions that undermine freedoms dear to both Polish and American citizens. With all certainty, if from January 2025 it is these people who will be in charge of US policy, they will certainly not be indifferent to such things as are happening in Poland today, and are more reminiscent of times long gone. What is noteworthy about the Tusk government's actions, which are contrary to the rule of law, is said by a man who may soon be the second person of the world's greatest superpower. Candidate for leader of the superpower Donald Trump made his first public appearance since his assassination attempt at the Republican convention in Milwaukee. Delegates greeted him with the same cheers he raised after surviving an assassination attempt on his own life. Trump, with a bandage on his ear, attended the convention during which he was announced as the Republican candidate for president.
Very enthusiastic, like there's hope, like there's hope. The man is tough. He is tough and he'll fight for every American.
Joe Biden, who has been calling for Trump to be taken at face value, is now curtly explaining his words.
Focus on. Look, the truth of the matter was, what I guess I was talking about at the time was, there was very little focus on Trump's agenda.
At the same time, Biden continues to say that Trump is a threat to democracy. But the Republican was stopped neither by political attacks nor by an attempt to take his life. Martin Shevchuk, TV Republica. It is the first session of the new European Parliament and the first post has been filled. Roberta Metsola is re-elected as President of the Parliament.
Polarisation in our societies has led to more confrontational politics, even political violence. the easy answers that divide our communities into us and them. We need to move beyond this zero-sum thinking that has excluded people, that turns people away, that foments anger and hate rather than builds hope and belief. We understand that the comfort of such easy politics offers no real solutions. This is the House that stands for the opposite, that wants to build rather than destroy.
While Metzola's re-election does not generate major emotions, hers does. Ursula von der Leyen, head of the European Commission, has long been uncertain about the support of even her political base. Today, she met representatives of the group of European Conservatives and Reformers, to which Law and Justice belongs, to make the case for her candidacy. Unfortunately, Ursula von der Leyen disappointed our expectations by interfering in the electoral process in member states in order to help the parties working for her re-election. Von der Leyen's entire political career has been a series of controversies and scandals, both in Germany, where as a minister she was accused of plagiarising her doctoral thesis, and later in Brussels. It isn't just the extreme politicisation of the position of head of the European Commission, but even her text messages with the head of Pfizer about the multi-billion euro purchase of COVID vaccines. Today we are informed that for the next 5 years there will be more of the same. Ursula von der Leyen, as today, trying to come to an agreement with the Greens and implement not only a Green Deal, but also a so-called Green Industrial Policy, which probably means stepping on the gas pedal when it comes to the green transformation. Von der Leyen cannot count on the support of Law and Justice MEPs, but these MEPs have not left her empty-handed. In Strasbourg at the European Parliament, together with Arkadiusz Mularczyk, we presented the War Losses Report to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in English. This Thursday's vote on von der Leyen's candidacy to head the European Commission will again require at least 361 votes in the 720-member European Parliament. The vote will be in secret and the outcome uncertain until the very end. Maximilian Maschenda, TV Republica. They are a symbol of faithfulness as they pair up for life. This is certainly something people could learn from swans. Early today, Great Britain's annual swan upping kicked off on the River Thames, continuing an 800-year-old tradition whereby the monarch's swans are counted.
The swans, now owned by King Charles, are tallied by the sovereign swan marker, David Barber, and accompanying swan uppers, who take to the waters in traditional Thames rowing skiffs. The ceremony lasts 5 days.
Well, this is the traditional way, but it's the ideal way of catching swans with long boats, which are skiffs, Thames skiffs. They're absolutely ideal for it and easy because you make a great big circle. You work the boats in closer together, and then because you can lift the family of swans out by hand. When we catch a family of swans, the young cygnets, we take them ashore, we will weigh them, we will measure them, and we check them for any injuries. And a lot of the injuries we find from fishing tackle injuries. So a lot of them we can de-tackle, but if it's a serious injury, then they will go to one of the swan rescue organisations and to one of the vets there, and they will be attended to there.
The swan upping tradition dates back to the 12th century, when the English crown first claimed ownership of all mute swans, which have long curved necks, orange beaks, and white feathers, and were then considered a delicacy that would be served at banquets. However, in the modern day, swans are no longer served as food and are a protected species. The king shares ownership of mute swans on the Thames with the old trade associations of the vintners and dyers, who also join in the upping. However, the monarch retains the right of ownership of all unmarked mute swans swimming in open waters, although this is mainly exercised on certain stretches of the Thames.
That's the news. Thank you for watching, and from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.